My name is Alice Brandt and I am your moderator for the session today. We will be talking about financing mechanisms for urban sanitation. But before we begin, let me just make two quick remarks. The first one being that this session is recorded. So if you're participating in the session, we take this as your yes to being recorded, and the recordings will be made available later on online, so we all get famous. The second remark is that after this session, there will be another one, which is very interesting. It will start at 3. It's called Government Pay Your Bills, very interesting title, and it's hosted by GIZ and the Water Integrity Network and many others, so make sure to join that session right after this one. So let me talk you through if my screen decides to move. Let me talk you through the agenda of today. We will have a brief welcome and introduction by Fred Nwagaba, who is country coordinator for the GIZ Global Program Sanitation for Millions in Uganda. Then we will take a couple of minutes to invite you as participants to answer to 2 questions that we have prepared. The event organizers will be posting the link and the access code for you to participate in the quiz, in the 2 questions. I think as I am speaking now into the chat box, so make sure you participate. After that, we will enjoy the presentations by Pamela Kabasingutsi from Caritas Hewasa, and finally Joanne Asimwe, also from Sanitation for Millions Uganda. You will have the chance in a brief Q&A session afterward, after the presentations, to ask your questions to the speakers. Please stay muted and write your questions into the chat box, and I will try to make sure that each of your questions will be taken. And then the session will be wrapped up by Fred, again with some closing words and a way forward. So these are the stars of the show today, starting with Fred. Fred, he is a civil engineer and he has practiced in the wash sector basically for over 20 years. And Fred, as a matter of fact, loves nature and adventure very much. Moving on to Joanne, she has worked in sanitation for 9 years. She has actually approached 7 financial institutions in 2012, hoping that they would take an interest in financing business in sanitation, but no one was interested. Fun fact about Joanne, her happiest happy place is to be laying by a pool on a sunny day. Who wouldn't like to do that? Our other speaker, Pamela here, is a researcher with 5 publications in her name on WASH financing for rural and urban sanitation. She is a strong believer in smart development. A fun fact about Pamela is that she has political ambitions. She has been hatching a plan to represent the women at the East African Assembly. And last but not least, we have our interpreter today, because this is a bilingual session. As you may know, we have a French channel, and I think I'm covering his name right there. Our interpreter is Laurent Cohen. He's a freelance interpreter and translator based in Barcelona, and he's been in this field since 1996. Fun fact about him, that he has a 25-year-old daughter and her name is Africa. So, without further ado, again, my screen is a bit slow today. We will begin with Fred. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alice. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from where you've logged in. We welcome you to our session today. I wish to start by talking about our program, the Sanitation for Millions. The Global Sanitation for Millions program is a program in WASH, that is water, sanitation, and hygiene. And it is currently being implemented in Uganda, Pakistan, and Jordan. Our mission is provision of access to safe sanitation to the disadvantaged and vulnerable groups that include women, children, people with disabilities, the internally displaced, and migrants and ethnic minorities. Coming back to Uganda, where I am the program coordinator. In Uganda, we are active in the capital city of Uganda, which is Kampala, and in the northern of Uganda in small to medium towns in a district called Apache. Our work in the WASH started with entry into the community by working on the collective sanitation space, where we worked with the public institutions, including schools and healthcare facilities. At this stage of the program, we are working with the communities at household level, where again we are trying to ensure access to safely managed sanitation and to support the functional service of the sanitation chain. So one would ask, why would Sanitation for Millions go into financing mechanisms when it comes to sanitation? If I could talk about Uganda, contextualizing the status quo, is that the investment in sanitation when it comes to the public sector is remains quite low. And whenever the public financing for sanitation is looked at, the first issue that the government looks at is the first mile investment that is into centralized treatment systems, collection systems that only give an impact of about 10% of access to the sanitation chain, and which again you find goes basically to the middle to high income, leaving out the vulnerable groups. And these vulnerable groups, of course, they cannot access the grid that is developed under public financing. And when you look at the case of Uganda, which is similar to very many other developing countries, about 90% of the population are on this off-grid sanitation. And therefore, that is why Sanitation for Millions has partnered with local actors and others in trying to test the way in which we can unlock investment in on-site sanitation, and specifically at the household level, which is not the number one priority of public financing. We, under the program, we have been able in northern Uganda to start testing these financing mechanisms, and my colleagues are going to talk much more about those mechanisms that look at the market-based models where there is an interesting mix of commercial lending through partner financial institutions, and also the results-based financing with the intention of attracting the private entrepreneurs and keeping them engaged and interested in the investment in this area. We have had success in market-based promotion of products in Uganda and also, of course, the rest of the African continent. There's been success when it comes to the telecom sector, for instance, in as far as the mobile phone is concerned. And this, when one looks some years back, 10 or so years back, the situation when it came to the telecoms was not very different from sanitation. But the little tweaks that were done in the market to be able to come out with interesting market-based products is what has made the mobile sector, mobile telecommunication sector quite vibrant. And we think this, we can also achieve it when it comes to sanitation financing. So our aim today is to share our experiences in Uganda when it comes to the work that we have been able to achieve in northern Uganda. And we believe that these can be also applied in different contexts of the world. Therefore, I hope that with the presentations, the interaction in this session, and will help us to come up with the practical actions that are aimed at improving sanitation financing mechanisms, which is a key pillar if we are to contribute onto the impact of meeting the SDGs in sanitation arena. I thank you very much for listening to me, and most welcome once again.
Wonderful, Fred. Thank you very much for your introductory words. Very meaningful. I would kindly invite the organizers of this event to share their screen so we can quickly go into the questions that we have prepared for the audience. Yes, Matthias, wonderful. Okay, so you can join now, all of you, many participants, please open either on your phone or on your desktop. If you type in app.wisembly.com and then you type in the keyword WWater4D, you will get straight to our question and you will be able to type in your answer there, which would be very helpful if you could all participate. So please do so now. I will give you a little bit of time. To do so and speak very slowly to give you even more time. Yeah, but I think we can start with the first question now. Matthias, okay, it's moving. Very good. So I hope it's all good. So what? So the first question was, sorry, I thought that the question would pop up again. So the first question is, what innovative financing mechanisms do you work with? So we have our interesting word cloud forming right here. We have bonds, we have blended finance, we have revolving funds, we have loans, credits, grants. Okay, carry on typing. Thank you. Okay, so The word cloud is clearly showing that revolving funds, blended finance, loans are like the keywords that you are all aware of. So we know that you or your audience is not entirely new to the topic. We have quite some experts amongst you as well. And now household loans even, okay, thank you. Transfers, export, currency agency, okay, perfect. Thank you so much for this word cloud, very interesting. Let's move on to the second question, which might be a bit more complex than the first one. The first one was easy. So a World Bank analysis estimates that $114 billion per year of capital investments will be required to meet universal access to safely managed water and sanitation services by 2030. What are you doing to close this gap? We have 10 more years to go and approximately hundreds of billions of dollars required to close the gap. So we want to know from you what you are doing to close the gap. So let's see. Finance, advocacy, yes, integrate contractors, operators, and suppliers. Advocacy is quite big. Mechanisms, value operators, chains, suppliers, wow. And still remaining on the advocacy, perfect. Support sanitation community operators. Incentives, toilets for all, lending. Wow, this cloud is getting even bigger. Network, decentralization. Networking, very important. Support, integrate sanitation subsidy, levies. Cool. Thank you all. We will save this cloud. Okay. Excellent. So I'm sure with all your input, we will manage easily to close the gap by 2030. Look at you. Thank you very much for participating in this very brief quiz. Your answers are very valuable. Let's move on and switch back. Oh, Matthias, what are you showing? Okay, thank you. Please, one question, turn off your camera if you're not presenting. And as now the next presenters are Joanne and Pamela, those should be the only two people that we should be seeing on the screen now. There is another person still on our screen. It would be great. Either you present something about finance mechanisms or you turn your camera off. Thank you so much. I will share my screen to show the slides and would open the floor for Joanne and Pamela. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Yes, Pamela and I are presenting on financing mechanisms, our lessons from the Uganda context. And I hope that we are very loud and clear. So again, looking at this, looking at what we are presenting, we are looking at how we are increasing, how we have been able to increase access to safely managed sanitation, with a focus on what the opening remarks that Fred shared validated, that we're working in the northern part of Uganda, in a small cluster of towns, the Apache cluster. And of course, like he has said, we are implementing through a market-based approach. We are very focused on ensuring that the private sector takes lead And of course, working to, like the question has just said, just trying to ensure that we are able to bridge the financing gap for households and institutions. Next slide, please. Next. Can we have the next slide?
It is moving on my computer, so maybe it takes a while till it gets to yours.
Okay.
Has it moved?
Yes, it has, but it's the previous slide, please.
Yeah. Please be patient with the connection. Okay, let's go back. Okay, there you go.
So looking at what Sanitation for Millions stands for, as a development partner working in Uganda through our program in the north and in Kampala, of course, we've realized that the WASH financing gap and most of sanitation is really big, and we need to figure out innovative ways in which we can be able to close these gaps. So the question that we've always asked ourselves is, how do we get the private sector to invest in sanitation? So, and of course, when you talk about private sector, it means that you have to have a market that makes sense, a market that is triggered, a market that is catalyzed, a market that shows the private sector that there is money, so please invest in the market. So Sanitation for Millions developed a simple model to catalyze the market, and we call this the community-wide integrated sanitation approach. Quite a mouthful, but very important, because we look at community, because we are targeting every single person, so looking at the households, but then also institutions. And then we're looking at integrated. Why? Because we actually began our program with a focus on institutional sanitation, but over time, we also realized that we could not just work in institutions and leave the households unattended to. And so we are looking at an integrated approach that leverages our work in the institutions while also picking up and boosting our interventions with households. So the model is market-based and combines both the demand side, so demand stimulation and catalyzation, and then supply strengthening. So how are we working with the supply side, the different service, the different sanitation actors, the people that build toilets, the people that empty toilets, and we're working along the entire value chain, the entire sanitation value chain. So the model has very important aspects that I would quickly go through. So if you look at the bottom, we have all these different, we have these different avenues in which we are working through. We have the religious institutions, which I will not speak much about, because Pamela is our guru when it comes to
Did we just lose them? Joanne, are you still there? Sorry, was it my computer or you're back? Everything is fine?
Yes,
it was only you, I think.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
Sorry. So yes, we are using we're using different avenues to advocate for improved sanitation, and one of the areas in which we are using is the religious institutions. And then we have on the left-hand side, we have leveraging on the work that we've been doing. We've been working with very many schools and healthcare facilities, and we're saying that can we use these very places where we have initially had 100% funding and 100% support, can we use them to push the need for people to have proper toilets? We're using school children because they are significant drivers of change. They are receptive to new ideas and can influence and cultivate new behaviors. And then, of course, we also have the natural leaders that sprout out of the households. These natural leaders are persons with either formal or informal influence through social ties and networks. Word of mouth, of course, plays a very big role. So we have said that let's use all these avenues at the bottom to be able to create a buzz, to create discussion about the different options that we have available for people to be able to access a safely managed sanitary facility, and while we're also pushing the aspects of operation and maintenance, because we believe that if you can build it, then you should be able to maintain it. The most important part, I think, in this puzzle is the people that are out there going door to door. So we have the aspects of engagement. Our engagement strategy looks at a very broad behavior change communication and marketing strategy. And here we are involving the different village health teams, again, natural leaders, sales agents that are affiliated to different businesses. And we use the door-to-door method because ideally, that if you're going door to door, then you will be able to understand what it is that somebody in their nuclear setting needs. What is it that they need? Is it a new structure? Do they just need to improve it? Can we explain to them in terms of cost, how much a toilet would cost? So we're able to do that on a one-on-one basis. And even given the COVID state right now, I think that is the way to go. Of course, here we're also looking at the linkages. These people that move door to door also create a linkage with the private sector, which is the level up. So we have the private sector that is constructing toilets, that is emptying toilets, but they need to be able to have a strong linkage, an easy linkage with the communities. And these people create that easy linkage. We've gone into partnership with the different financial institutions, from as low as village savings groups, village savings and lending associations, which are very micro at the village level. Then we have the microfinance institutions. Right now we are finalizing, we are in the process of finalizing a partnership with one of the local banks, and that is supposed to help on the commercial lending for the middle segment. And then, of course, we are looking at innovative financing. So, and here we're saying that how can we leverage on private sector money? So here we're promoting the results-based financing mechanism, which I'll go into a little later. But again, the most when we are talking about the community-wide integrated sanitation approach, we can't do that without talking about the local government. What is the local government doing? So in our case, we've worked in these small towns for a number of years, and some of our support has been in being able to develop policy and legal frameworks. So now we have bylaws, sanitation bylaws that are able to push for improved sanitation while also providing the aspect of enforcement. So this is what we are looking at, and this is what creates a foundation where we can now say that we can now push a financing mechanism, and it will work because we have the market that is catalyzed. Next slide, please.
Is it there?
Yes, it's there. So Sanitation for Millions has designed and developed financing options to serve the low, the middle, and the private sector segments of the market. One of the things so when you look at this model on this little nice cycle on the left-hand side, at the bottom we have the infrastructure subsidy, which is what we are promoting, and we've designed for the vulnerable groups. And these vulnerable groups will be able to benefit from this aspect, because there you're able to ensure that they have a safely managed and contained structure. Again, why? Because the substructure is actually the most important component of the toilet. If that is safely contained, if excreta, fecal matter is safely contained in the substructure, then I think all is well. And of course, we are leaving the superstructure up to the household to be able to, over time, be able to construct it, because again, you also have that sense of privacy that needs to be upheld. And we also for emptying, this is something that we are also promoting, but in partnership with the urban councils, just to ensure that there is a sustainability aspect to it. The second level, so here we're looking at the middle income. The middle income, these are people that we know have some sort of income. So these are businessmen, farmers, in our context, even landlords. They have commercial properties that they are renting out, and so they are able to benefit from the agreements, from the partnerships that we have with the different financial institutions. And then at the top, we have the output-based financing, which is, I think, of the focus for this discussion today, because we are looking at results-based financing, which, like I said, is anchored in the market-based approach, and it is actually specific to service providers. Why? Because this output-based financing is an opportunity for us to be able to show the private sector that there is money in sanitation. You can build toilets and get paid for it, and you even get an incentive just to ensure that, just to allow you to become more efficient and to just enjoy the gains of working in sanitation. So why did we decide to go with results-based financing? One, because yes, we needed to ensure that the market gets developed, gets catalyzed, goes back to the market-based approach that we are promoting. And then because for sustainability, of course, I think we're looking at going beyond our programs and what the different development partners, NGOs, CSOs, anyone that is functioning in operating in this space will not be here forever. But if we're able to show that the private sector, to prove to the private sector there is money here, then it means that even when these programs have come and gone, that the sanitation space will still make sense, it will still remain viable, commercially viable, because people are able to make money off it. They can make money off emptying toilets, they can make money off building toilets. And then, of course, we are looking at ensuring that through these models, through our financing mechanism models, we're able to reach scale in sanitation and and of course, when this out of our learnings, we're able to take this and it be replicated in other small towns and eventually in other contexts around the world. Thank you. The next slide, please. So when we talk about the results-based financing, we are promoting what we call the output-based financing. So again, here it just goes back to ensuring that we have pre-agreed results, because we're running output-based performance contracts, and these agreements are signed off, and the entrepreneur, the businessman knows that I am building 2,000 toilets, and for every toilet that I'm going to build, I'm going to get $27 to $32 per 2 stands toilet. And we are ensuring that that the way it works, the service provider is responsible for pre-financing, so we're not giving any grants. So the kind of businesses that we're looking for need to meet our eligibility, which of course means that they should be registered, they should be able to demonstrate that they have financial strength, and they should have they should have the capacity to be able to construct the number of toilets that we need them to. So it's very explicit in these performance-based contracts. And the way the RBF is working, of course, there's an aspect of verification that is conducted periodically to ensure that that all the outputs are met. And right now we're looking, when we talk about outputs, we need to make sure that even that when we're talking about toilets being built, that these toilets meet the standards that we expect and that we have agreed to. So yes, I've already said that we are running through market performance-based contracts between us and the program and the identified service providers, and households, because we cannot leave out households. Some households are able to get some pre-financing for their toilets that they want constructed. So there's the linkage that we are also creating with the different financial institutions. and we are looking at preferential terms. So, for example, if a household is into farming, then the loans that are being advanced are being tailored to ensure to meet the farmer's cycle. So if he's going to reap, if he's going to sell his product in about 4 months, if he's going to harvest in about 4 months, then he's given a grace period for that until he gets his product out on the market. So so that is what we're promoting, both the commercial side, the commercial lending for households and service providers, and then we're providing an incentive for the service providers. Next slide, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is Pamela now. Yeah, so far there's work done in a patch cluster in partnership with Caritas for Portal. We have had meetings with the municipal councils and in that cluster, and one of the activities that has already been done is scheduling the emptying that is by the fecal sludge treatment plant operator and the municipality and the health division. The health division, that's the department of the municipality. And here we look at scheduling the emptying, just because currently there's only one entrepreneur, only one private sector that is handling that, and it's a very big distance to cover from the main town to the different town councils. So it needs scheduling so that people get to know what time is coming, when is the day, and the municipal council also need to know, and the health division person. We've already created awareness on the emptying services. It's still going on radio, and as Joan has already said, the different strategies that we've laid through radio, and village health teams are doing their work, and also door to door, making sure that everyone is aware of what is happening. The government has Public Health Act that encompasses everything about the health issues and environment. But again, the different local government, like the municipals, have their own bylaws that are formulated and agreed upon by everyone in the municipality and the different towns, so that they follow those guidelines. But one of the issues that we found is that they were not popularized. People are not aware of what are the laws that are being talked about. So one of the things that we are doing is to make sure that everyone is aware of that and is able to make informed decisions and make sure that he or she has a proper sanitation that is properly managed. And of course, there are rewards for those people who are agents, there are VHTs, and remember, we're talking about financing. People are looking at businesses, people are looking at money in their pockets at the end of it all. So there are commissions once someone gives an alert to the health officer or to the operator of fecal sludge management. So that person is, we are working on making sure that that process is there, and the person is aware of how much he or she gets in case he connects or links the emptying person to the different households that need that. So there's that commission, that thing that ignites the whole business within the project. And then looking at the highlights of the program, at the moment, we've already engaged the landlords on the available different technologies that can be used, given that we've done a lot of research around there. Make sure that people look at the economic, the social impacts, and looking at what they can afford. And remember, we are talking about a market-based approach. So in the market, you bring every other thing that you would think about, and people choose on where they fit, depending, of course, on their incomes and their need, and also their options. I mean, everyone has what he or she needs to have. So we've had also, John talked about the different companies to show interest. We've worked out a process whereby already expression of interest have been worked upon by the district, the different municipalities, and it has attracted 8 companies so far. And those 8 companies, we shall be able to sit down and pick out the ones that fit into the criteria that we want to work with, and they make sure they have the money to do the business. And then at the end of the day, as Joan explained, there's that little motivation so that someone keeps the business on and the interest. And of course, we are looking at the results. When these people, the companies that we are going to work with are already chosen, they need, those contracts must have the targets that they have to have. We already have about 300 latrines that we need to construct. So while the different companies would have to compete for those latrines and make sure that they have, at the end of the day, we have our targets, they have their money in their pockets, and they're motivated to do the sanitation business that is sustainable. And of course, during our engagements with the different municipal council members, the sanitation task team, we've also developed the different minimum standards for on-site sanitation. So we have agreed with them, we have already disseminated them so people know what is expected of them. The entrepreneurs know, the private sector, the VHTs, everyone is aware of what is supposed to be followed as per the guidelines and the minimum standards that we have already shared with them. Of course, working out with the people who are the leaders there. And there's a catalog that has been developed and will be shared with everyone that is interested in a patch cluster. And so that there are no regrets. You get to know what you want, you buy what you want, you buy what you see, and that is the way to go. Next slide. Thank you. Yes, Joan said she wouldn't talk about that, about the demand creation through the church. Yes, actually, we've done a lot of demand creation through the church. As Caritas, we've had a lot of experiences from the West, from different programs and projects, and one of them is Finish Mondial, which has really given us a step ahead. And the most important approach that we use and we still want to scale in the North, in a patch, is going through the church. You know, the church, especially the Catholic Church, which I know very well, once a religious person, for example, a priest, orders something or talks about something and gives his own input, his own experience, every Christian in that service will make sure he or she follows that. So that is what we have been using, and that's what we are using in Apache. We've already had meetings at different levels, starting with a different, if you know the structure of the church, from the diocese to the parishes, to the church leaders, to the village, where there is always a community village meeting every week. So we've set targets already and working with the leaders at all those levels. So we expect a lot of linkages, we expect a high results from that kind of approach, because it has been tested, it has been tried, it has had results in the Western region, in Uganda. And we are proud to say that we really get results out of that. And we've moved on, of course, to different, not only the Catholic Church, we've also gone to the mosques, and we've been given a very welcome approach. And I mean, it's very good, and we are moving on. We'll do the same in Apache cluster. We've looked also on the supply chain. Actually, even the supply chain. For example, we've had engagement when we're looking, we are searching for methods. We advertise, yes, we go to the radio, we go to everywhere, but also we use the church channels, and it has worked for us, even for transport of fecal sludge, even for mobilization, marketing skills. So the church and the religious institutions are very strong point of engagement. And we've developed, yes, the supply chain and aligned it to the demand, and also building capacities of the private sector for improved sanitation services and products. We've had also household clustering approach that encourages total sanitation uptake, that is having 10 households clustered together to monitor each other, to support each other, to talk about sanitation while they are there, and it's easy to monitor those. Of course, we use the different offices of the village health teams, we use the opinion leaders, we use all that, because all those members are actually part of the 10 households, the clustering that we talk about. So we have, even the entrepreneurs will be trained in making sure that they do their work very well in sanitation. They could have been doing a lot of work on constructing a house, and they are just invited to construct a building. But this time we want them to be proactive, to just go out to a household and say, this is my skill, and I would like to see your latrine and construct a better latrine for you and make sure that you have. And this is the skill I have. These are the things that I move with, showing the photos, showing the different people, showing the different technologies, and he's able to market his own skill or her own skill, other than the household looking for the person to do the work for him or her. So we have lost a lot of that, a lot of time waiting for the household to come and contact the mason or the entrepreneur. But this time we are saying, why doesn't the entrepreneur, the private sector, the VHT say, here I am, I have this skill, I can help you with your sanitation skills, please let's negotiate and make sure you have a better latrine. That is the way to go if we want sustainable sanitation in Uganda and also in the rest of the world. I thank you. Oh, I would like to have another slide on. That's it. That's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Pamela. Famous last words. So join me for a big round of virtual applause for Pamela and Joanne. They did a great job. And I would say that now we have, let me check, we've got 5 minutes for Q&A. So if I can manage to turn my screen around, then I can also see whether we have some questions in the chat. You can type in now. So we just have a comment. Oh, please, there's a person called Wilbert. The camera is on. Can you please turn it off? That would be great. Thank you very much.
It's highlighted.
I will quickly see if there's, thank you, if there's a question in the French channel. We have a question. Wait, let me just first take this one. Okay, so we have here Mariam Zakoud, who is asking my question about scheduled service. Was this because demand is higher? And then we have another question. What was the $27 for? Is it the full cost of constructing a pit latrine? Joanne, do you want to take those two questions?
Sure. Yes, so the question on the scheduled, the question on the scheduled emptying, it's scheduled because of the current low levels of the need for emptying. We've had, so the Apache cluster, we are just introducing emptying. So they've always just been able to just build and build other toilets. But now the Urban Council has said that no, it's time for us to be able to enforce and ensure that we have lined toilets within the Urban Council's water bond. So they're pushing septic tanks and the likes, which of course have to be emptyable. So we are now on the awareness, creating an awareness that one, we have a fecal sludge treatment plant that we actually that was constructed by GIZ a couple of years ago, and we are now in the process of just telling the communities that you can actually build, you can actually empty your toilet, and this is the service provider that can do it for you. So one by one, people are now coming out and saying, okay, yes, my toilet pool is full or it's almost full, and they're registered through the health inspector, who when they get to a certain number, then it makes sense for the emptier to be called in, because he knows he's going to work on X number of toilets. Then the question on the $27, no, that is just the incentive. The cost of a toilet is actually in the technological catalog, and on average, it would go between, I think that we have some as low as, just a minute. About $400 for a very, for the precast, very nice toilet. But we even have some that go a little lower, but we are, as long as it meets the minimum standards, then it's promoted. So the $27 is specifically just the incentive.
Okay, thank you very much, Joanne. So questions are coming in. We will not be able to take all of them, but Joanne and Pamela, you can leave your contacts in the chat box so the people who have the questions can email you afterwards. I would just wanted to point out that there will be a write-up of our work in Uganda. And yeah, as soon as it is finalized, it will be shared on platforms accordingly. Maybe one last question regarding the sustainability in financial terms. Who is paying the companies after the loans are being paid back? So either of you who would like to take this question, and then we must move on to the closing words, unfortunately.
Yes, of course, the household takes the responsibility to pay back the loan, and that loan is paid specifically to construct a latrine, a sanitation system that is reusable and sustainable. But the household head or the landlord is able to pay back. And as John has already explained, that there are already negotiable terms with the different financial institutions. So it is the person who owns and uses the sanitation facility that pays back the loan to the bank where he has got that loan. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, and thank you to the audience for these very good questions. I am sure while Fred will deliver his closing words and final statement, that Joanne and Pamela would leave their email contacts in the chat box. So Fred, you have 6 minutes left for your wrap up. So please, the floor is yours.
I need to figure out your MS Teams.
Thank you very much, Alice. Yes, I must thank everybody for their questions, and of course, a big thank you also to the presenters. What we are taking home from here, that when it comes to the results-based financing, it works, though it needs to be contextualized to the local conditions. As you have observed, no one size fits all. The other issue that has been picked is the fact that the mechanisms, financing mechanisms, being kept simple and an upscalable approach is the way to go. And then, of course, there were questions, issues, and in the presentation where we look at the incentives to ensure that the inclusion aspect is upheld. Market creation also, because for this to work, we need the private sector, and the private sector will only be attracted to areas where there is money. So that is also important, market creation demand. And then last but not least, the standards to ensure that then the results-based financing mechanism is able to work. So we shall be sharing at the end. We shall be, of course, sharing more details. But this is what I've been able to pick from here, and we hope that then we will continue to network with all of you as we try to promote sanitation at household level using the innovative financing. Finally, I wish to thank the event organizers for the good job you've done, including the technical support. I think we are very grateful, and I think this is going to be recorded in the history of our work, that we can impact the rest of the world when it comes to the issues of knowledge management in sanitation financing. I thank you, and back to you, Alice.
Excellent. Thank you for your last words. We have right here in the chat box, Joanne and Pamela, who have just shared their email addresses. So everyone, please, let's keep in touch. And now stay tuned for the next session. Government, pay your bills. Yeah. And enjoy the rest of the Water Week. Bye.